Hi, my name is Jenny Lauren Dowden for Conduit News, and today we have Patrick Deakins joining us in the studio. As many of you know, he is a JP here on the Washington County Quorum Court, but he is now a candidate for Washington County Judge. Hey, Patrick, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Jenny Lauren. It's always good to be here in the Conduit studio.
Awesome. Well, tell us about your campaign. How is it going? What are you hearing from voters right now as you're out meeting everyone?
Yeah, it's going really well, and as much as we've represented our district as JP, it's always wonderful to get around Washington County and hear from the rest of the voters. We're hearing a lot of great support. And what I'm seeing is in our race and a lot of other races, I think a lot of people who have maybe become complacent as voters over the last few years, they're being activated. They're seeing the issues that are laid out in front of us, and I think they're going to get involved. So I expect a great turnout in this voting cycle, and now it's important to get our message in front of all those voters.
But what is that message? What do you see as being the top priorities, the main issues for the county right now?
Change. That's what really is going to drive Washington County. I mean, we see that all around our region every day, whether it be the economic growth, the houses that are going up. I mean, we see it whether we're driving to work or we see the population growth. My whole message is, what do we want Washington County to be 5, 10, or 20 years from now? I think the county has fallen into a rut in the last few years of we're planning just for next year. We're living just one day out in front of our faces, and we need to think, no, let's strategically know where we want to go. Let's have a target out on the horizon that we're working towards and build consensus to get there. Change is going to happen. Do we want it to happen to us, or do we want to happen to change? And I think we can absolutely mold the change in Washington County to make sure our shared values and principles from a conservative standpoint are embedded in that change for our future generations. That's where my goal is, and that's where my passion is.
Well, what would that look like specifically? You talked about, okay, here's what Washington County could look like in 5 years, 10 years, 25 years. I think I recently read that it said over 1 million people will be moved in living here in Northwest Arkansas by 2045. A lot of people have said, okay, Fayetteville, Washington County needs to become more competitive with Rogers, with the Bentonville area. What would that look like for you as county judge?
Absolutely. I mean, I think there's a huge gap between Washington and Benton County now. We know Benton County has certain things baked into it, but the economic gap that I'm seeing really concerns me. What we need to do is be more open to a business environment. At the county level, that starts with our planning and permitting. We have a planning and permitting process in the county that I think is almost broken right now in terms of what we're doing to business owners and applicants that come to the county that want to get permitting to do business in our county. I think right now our process is very arbitrary in terms of emotion gets involved in it, and we're not making the best decision for the county as a whole. So we need to make that process more open, transparent, and fair. I had a developer a few months ago tell me all things the same. If they had a major project to do, the site was the same, the economics were the same, but it was Benton or Washington County, they're going to go to Benton County. Because the business climate in Benton County is so much more welcoming. That is very problematic for Washington County, and that's something I want to solve as judge. The most important thing is we have to have an identity outside of Fayetteville as a county. We have to continue to promote ourselves. So when people think about doing business in Washington County, their automatic thought is not we're doing business in Fayetteville. We're doing business in the rural parts of the county. We can open industry there. We can do business in Springdale. We can do business in Farmington, Prairie Grove, Goshen, all these other places. We need to continue to promote ourselves.
Some of the other issues that Washington County voters are concerned about would be roads, right? You hear that a lot. You were recently at our Moms for Liberty meeting, and you got asked that question a lot about, well, what about our roads out in the rural area? That, as well as the jail, this is a crisis that is not unique to Washington County. It's across the state, really across the country, but the overcrowding here specifically in the Washington County Jail, what would you do as county judge to improve those roads, as well as help relieve some of the problems in the county jail, and then support those who are working?
What we got to do is get better as a county about retaining our employees. And that comes back to some of the compensation packages that we need to improve. I don't think government should ever compete with the private sector in terms of compensation in the workforce, but we need to do better as a county. There's a gap that's grown there that we need to invest in our road employees to make sure that we're keeping and retaining those people who are talented. So it's one thing to think of roads when you live in Fayetteville and Springdale, but it's a whole different ball game when you get out to the rural parts of the county and you're living on a dirt road. In many ways, the county lives and dies by one piece of equipment, and that's the road grader. Those road graders need to be operating and grading those roads on a regular basis. So, one of the granular things is we have 13 rural road grader routes in Washington County.
Okay.
It takes 8 weeks in a perfect world to complete one of those routes.
Hmm.
That's way too long. We need to cut that at least in half. And that's in a perfect world, but right now we know we're having trouble keeping an operator in that road grader and keeping that road grader running. So I don't think we're even hitting the target of 8 weeks.
Okay. And then talk to us about the jails.
The jail is a huge issue.
Yeah.
And it's very complex. And so we've been on I think a learning course in the last couple of years as a county. Once again, we have to keep our staffing at the jail. We have to keep and retain great people there, and that's going to cost us more as taxpayers. But the jail is the foundation to a good criminal justice system. With this growth in population you're talking about, we're going to double in 20 years. We have to really now consider if we're going to be like a Dallas or an Austin, we do not want the crime problems that have come with being a Dallas or an Austin. And the foundation of that is if we have criminals, people who have violated the law, and they need to go and be locked up, we need to have somewhere to take them. And that's going to be extremely important. The other complexity to that is the state has really left us, has abandoned their commitment to us to take their inmates out of our county jails and take them to a state penitentiary. And right now they're being backlogged in our county jails. So the next county judge is going to have to be a problem solver and work with those people at all different levels, whether it be the municipal levels or the state level, to try to coordinate and bring all those people together to solve this. We need to get the state inmates out of our jail, and we need to make sure we have the beds. So when the officers of Washington County or the police departments around the county have an issue and they have an individual that needs to be locked up, we have the bed space for that person to take them off the streets.
Let's talk about your time as a JP. The Washington County Quorum Court, I think, is quite unique in how there is a lot of lively debate, I guess you could say, at the meetings. You have sponsored quite a number of resolutions, but some that have been controversial. Talk to us about those, what it was like putting those forward, any obstacles that you came up to, and then, how that will help you kind of prepare you for your role as judge.
Yeah, it's given me a lot of experience about how to get things done, how to stand up to controversial issues, how to make sure we have a backbone as a county to communicate our wishes and our goals. The first one we did was with the help of my Quorum Court members, we passed that Washington County is the first pro-life county in the state.
Yeah.
I'm extremely proud of that work. But we also saw a very, very, very hard debate about that. And it got very caustic with the liberal left who wants to push back on those designations. But we heard rumors that Planned Parenthood wanted to come back to Washington County. And through some great work of advocates and stuff, they had moved out of Washington County. They wanted to come back. We heard support from the left. And I wanted to show that Washington County as a whole does not support abortion. We support life, and we want to promote that as however we can. And I thought the resolution was the best way to do that. We did a resolution to support Dr. Karras in our jail. And that was extremely important to me because we know the jail is a very difficult environment to work in the best of circumstances, but during a pandemic, it was extremely challenging. Yeah. But we had that individual and his staff wanting to come in there and treat our inmates and our detention staff with COVID. Over 800 cases, and we had no deaths. And I think that's extraordinary. I want to highlight that and award that. But more importantly, we had advocates on the left who were trying to besmirch that man and his reputation because they didn't agree with his treatment protocols. And so I think it's important to stand up for your people when that happens. When you have great service providers that are coming into the county and doing that, we can't take that for granted that person wants to come do that. And so I want to stand up, show our support for him as a countywide, not let the loud and liberal minority speak for us as a whole as Washington County. And I think that's going to be extremely important to continue to do as judge.
Well, let's talk about the makeup of the Quorum Court right now. I think all of the JP seats are up, if not most of them. Do you anticipate right now, conservatives hold the majority? Do you anticipate a shift in that? And if so, how would you manage that as county judge to reach across the aisle? Well,
we always have to build consensus with the Quorum Court. So the Quorum Court, they're duly elected, and the judge has to work with that body. That's the legislative body of the county. I don't expect a shift in the numbers on the Quorum Court. However, just by the people who filed, we're going to have a lot of new faces. So I think it's going to be extremely important. The judge presides over the Quorum Court. And that's not just a formality in my mind. I think he has to set the agenda of where we're headed as a county and really equip those Quorum Court members to make the decisions that they need to make with information and guidance on where he sees the things as a Quorum Court. Remember, our service, our JPs provide their service largely as volunteers. They are paid for their meetings, but most of them have jobs outside of being a JP. The county judge is down there 24/7. And so I think just having an open and honest relationship with the Quorum Court members and trying to lay out the agenda will be extremely important.
Let's talk about your race just very briefly. There are 4 total Republican primary candidates in this, 2 on the Democrat side. I recently had someone come up to me and say, because we've talked about having a debate among you all, Republican candidates, and someone said, well, why do you need a debate between all of them? They're all Republicans. Talk to us about how you are specifically different from the other candidates. Why is it important to, in a race with this many people, to really carve out who you are and the issues that you stand for?
Yeah, I think, first of all, we all know Republicans are not monolithic. We each have, within that umbrella, we have different beliefs. So I think it's extremely important that we continue to highlight ourselves and let voters really get to know who we are. What sets me apart is I have the right experience for this job at this particular time. While some of my other candidates were deciding whether to run or where to plug in, my family and I have made the sacrifices over a couple years now to serve Washington County. And in that service, we've gotten back the passion and the goals that we want to see in the next few years. My wife and I have prayed a lot about this. We think service is a sacrifice, but we also think it's worth it. So many of us attend church and we hear the church is only good as what the parishioners can make it to be. Get involved and make it as good as it can be. And that's exactly what every form of our government is too. And we want to get involved at the county level. We have been there long enough to see the challenges and opportunities that Washington County has, but we're still new enough to, I think, really push change and not fall into the trap of what's already been done for years and years and years. And so we think we're at the right time right now to strike that balance and lead Washington County into the future.
Primary election is coming up very quickly, just a matter of weeks. How can people get in touch with you, find your campaign, donate, that sort of thing?
Early voting starts the 9th. The election day is May 24th. We'd appreciate anybody, getting to know us and supporting us. You can email me at patrick@deakinsforjudge.com. We're also on Facebook and Instagram at Deakins for Judge. So feel free to reach out to us, ask us questions. And yes, if you are so inclined, please support us. It's so important to get behind the candidates that you support and show them that you're for them.
Thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you.
We'll have you back again soon.
It's been a pleasure. I appreciate it.